Hey folks, I'm Nadine, and this is the Other Side Pod. Real humans, real conversations, unscripted. Let's dive in. Okay, just a reminder to try not to talk over each other, which I know is hard to do for the three of
I
us.
sweetheart,
You
Tricia.
already did it.
Sweetheart, I'm a slow learner. I'm 76 years of age. What do you expect?
I expect you to be a fast learner by now.
Ta-da! That's what happened.
Okay, I love our little podcast time with Mom and Sis. Mom, you just got back from a little trip with your girlfriends. How was it?
What was it? It was absolutely fun. So many laughs, so much reminiscing, so much just sharing. And then I guess that's the best part that I love about it. Just spending time together, having no constrictions of responsibilities from your everyday life because we were out of the province. So no one tugging at you and nowhere to be, nothing to be able to do for anybody else except for our little old self. So that was absolutely wonderful.
Where did you go again?
We went to Quebec City,
Fun. And five of you.
five of us. And myself and one of the girls had been there before, but the other three hadn't. So it was a new experience. Of course, it was a new experience for us to be there together in itself, but just exploring around and walking around and just being able to take in the sights and the sounds and just relishing in each other's company. I think was just, it's just a peaceful feeling you get. You don't have to be on your game. You're not trying to make an impression. You're not out to prove anything. You're just you with a bunch of friends that you've been friends with for, in our case, gosh, 60 years.
What do you mean you're not out to make an impression? When are you out to make an impression?
Aren't we all out to make an impression, sweetheart?
I
Lots of
just
time.
I just didn't think you were. You seem to give no shits.
Sweetheart, we all like to make an impression, whether it's, I don't know, if you wanted to be included with people or you want to feel like you're liked or part of a group or you want to feel like you're important to the group. And when you're with a bunch of friends that you've been friends with for that amount of time, you know you're important to them. You're part of the group. You know you're in. They're afraid to keep you out.
I guess it just stuck out that you said you don't need to make an impression because I don't know, when you're at home and walking about in St. John's, do you think of that stuff?
No, I guess not because maybe it's because of the stage of life that I'm in. But when you're younger, yes, everybody likes to make an impression. You want to feel like you're somebody special, that you could mean something to somebody, that you're attractive to some people, that your personality shine, that you have something to offer, you have something to give that people would be more than willing to take, whether it's in just in being a friend, just in happy to be around somebody. It's hard to make connections sometimes. So we can, yeah, everybody tries to make an impression, not maybe not consciously all the time, but we do. We like to make impressions. We're thinking of what outfit you're going to wear. Maybe to the home. Is this going to be like, you're going to like it, or am I going to look good in it? Am I going to you feel good in it? But you want to make an impression and you hope that people will see what you feel inside. That's how I feel.
I'm harping on the impression thing because I don't know, I guess it just stuck out to me because I thought, what would be the difference of being at home with your girlfriends versus being in Quebec City with your girlfriends and not having to make an impression?
Oh, that was a different interpretation, honey. That's not the way I meant it. No, I would not be trying to impress them, or I guess I didn't state it the way I was thinking about. No, I wouldn't be trying to make an impression on my girlfriends. That's totally not where I come from, type thing. I don't have to make an impression with them because I feel very comfortable around them and with them and by their sides. I am who I am. If they don't know me by now after 60 years, that's on them. But I meant that when you're away, you're freer. It's just a feeling that you have, like nobody else knows you other than the people that you're with. And maybe you can be a little bit more, I don't know,
Slutty?
out there. flirty, slutty. But you can a different side of yourself because you're out of your element type thing. And it wouldn't be to impress my friends, but maybe I would do it for fun, or maybe I would do it for a little bit of attention, or that I wouldn't seek at home because you're just at home. Who you wear at home is who you wear at home. Right?
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
You guys have been friends, not you guys, because you're five women. You, lovely five women, you have been friends for 60 years.
Yeah, 60 years.
How did you meet?
We met through work at the hospital when we were 16 years of age, actually. Joan came in a little bit later, a couple of years later, but Chris and I were there from the time we were 16. And we went to work in a lab when we graduated from high school. And funnily enough, we had been classmates in high school, but we weren't friends because we came from different areas of the city, as she was a busing student and I was a walking to and from. So we weren't friends because we had different schedules before and after school. But it was only through work. When we got to work, we realized that, wow, we can be friends. And we
Oh, I had it all thought I thought wrong. Did you, Danielle? Like I thought Mom and Chrissy were friends in school.
No, I thought they met all at the hospital when they were in the
Mm.
lab.
Yeah, yeah. Like we were, I can't even remember being acquainted with her in school, even though the high school might have had, I don't know, 35, 40 students at the time. I know she was in my class and she knew I was in her class, but there was no connection because what school is, or you're in different cliques and who your friends are or who your friends are type thing, and never the twain shall meet. And it wasn't that we couldn't have been friends, it's just that we had, like I said, she was from outside of town and I was from inside of town. So we hung out with different people, and who you come to school with, that's who you go home with type thing, right? Yeah,
Even though
so
there's, sorry to cut you off, even though there's only 35 people in your class, you and Chrissy never hung out.
no, sweetheart, you wouldn't hang out with everybody in your classroom. You just, it's like school today, I'm sure. There are little groups, little, we call them cliques of people, and these who your go-to people are. And if you stay into lunch, you have a group of friends because they stay into lunch. I didn't stay into lunch because I had to go walk back and forth to home. Chrissy was a lunch, staying into lunch because she was from out of town. So all of that makes a difference in school. But I was aware she was there. And I'm sure she was probably aware that I was there, but no, we weren't friends. And it was only through work. We started work on the same day, and that's when we became bosom buddies, as they say.
Isn't it incredible that you ended up at the same job and you started on the same day? What a gift.
And it was so simple because at 16 years of age, what do you know about life and what do you know about what you want to do? And the way it happened is that we were taught by the presentation sisters. And of course, they were associated with the hospital where we ended up going to work. The hospital itself was run by the Sisters of Mercy. And through their connections, they were looking for people at the hospital to go to work. And back then, qualifications weren't as in demand as they were now. You had on the job training, as is how most people gravitated to whatever job that they gravitated to. And one of the sisters came into the classroom, I think it was a couple of days before we were graduating, and said, who would like a job at St. Clair? Of course, myself and Chrissy and this other girl, Shirley, and raised our hands and said, yes, we'll take a job, because what else are we going to do? And that's how we got our jobs. And that's what determined the rest of our lives, really. It determined who we met and fell in love with, the friends that we had, the friends that we maintained, the careers that we crossed paths with for all those years. And to this day, like I said, we remain friends. And that's as simply as it started.
Beautiful. And that's how you met Dad.
Yes, I met your dad through St. Clair's because his story was similar to mine. He was 16 as well, and he was from a rural community, what we call out around the bay. And the Sister of Mercy that was in charge of the laboratory just happened to be from the community that your dad grew up in, Northern Bay. And of course, she used to send, back then, there was not much telephoning. You'd send notes home to the people in her community. Anybody would like a job, tell them to come in Monday morning and they can have a job at the hospital. This is how positions were filled. Not, have you ever dreamed of being a lab technologist, or dreamed of being a nurse, or have you ever dreamed blah, blah, blah? Just with your son, with your daughter. And in this case, your dad's name was Edward. Would Edward like a job? And his mom said on the note, Edward, you got a job at St. Clair. So this was like a Thursday, Monday morning, he was in at the lab at St. Clair's. It was a couple of weeks later than when Chrissy and I started, but nevertheless, it was the same summer and same year. And that's how we met.
Oh my God. And so the other four, you and Christy started on the same day. Joan, you mentioned, came a little bit later. So how did the other two mix in?
Anne Marie was going out with a guy, Gus, and he worked in the lab that we ended up working in. And he had been there. Gus is a couple of years older than what Dad and I are. And he was working there at the time. And I think Anne Marie met him through, I think it was through one of her sisters. I remember asking her about this at one of our clubs a couple of years ago. And it was funny. She actually couldn't remember how she had met him. She giggled. And she said, oh my God, I can't remember how I met Gus. And she actually had to ask her sister. She had to go through each, she has 4 sisters. She had to go through each of them to ask if they remembered how she met Gus. And it was through one of them had mentioned this guy, Gus, and I think that they went skating together or something, roller skating or ice skating. And that's how she met Gus. And Gus worked in the lab. So that's how she ended up connected to us. And our other friend, Mary, who's a sister-in-law to Chris, she ended up dating Chrissy's husband-to-be, Leo. So Leo and Brian are brothers. And Brian worked in the lab as well. So that's the connection with Mary. That's how we met.
Mary never dated Leo. She dated Leo's brother.
She dated Leo's brother.
Oh,
Exactly.
I was going to say she dated Leo and then Leo's brother, but no, that's not.
You could have at the time. It was
Could have.
it was the 60s, sweetheart. It was the 60s. Look through them until you find who you want.
It still happens. And the 5 of you are still really close.
Yes, and Joan is connected with us. She's 3 years younger than Chrissy and I, and she ended up into the fray because she ended up dating another guy from the lab. John and Leo and Ed were friends. So, of course, by default, we dragged Joni in with us.
So Joni and Mary and Anne-Marie didn't work at the lab, but their husbands or their boyfriends at the time did.
Exactly.
And then, so did the 5 of you always get along really well, the women?
Yes and no. There's just throughout the years, it's the ebb and flow of life, the ebb and flow of family and careers and all of that. You go in and you go out. Did we always agree? I'm sure we didn't. I can't remember much specifics now, but there was a time you'd have to step back, take a breather from the group because group dynamics are pretty complicated. And you throw that in with personalities, which are so diverse. A lot of opinionated people, a lot of strong-willed people. Dad was a strong unionist. He butted heads with people who were on the other side of the table, management would say. So there was always tension from that. Not always, but that was a lot that led to separating sometimes and coming back and separating and coming back, because when you have friction from work that carries over to your personal relationships, something has to give. And it's easier to let go of personal relationships than work responsibilities. You know what I mean?
Not even probably. I mean, you said easier, so I don't want to replace words in your mouth, but it's complicated to let go of relationships, I would think. But you had to have a job. You all had mortgages. You all had families. You had young kids. So it's not like you didn't have the benefit to say, okay, I'll leave this position and I'll go here. And speaking of dad ate, breathed, slept, union.
It was in his DNA, sweetheart. That's who he was. And you have people on the other side who are in management who that's in their DNA. And it's not only your role, it's your belief system as well. Everybody believes they're on the side of righteousness.
Right.
But it was much easier to let go of the friendship. Not easy, but it was much easier to let go of the friendship and maintain the professional part of it, because that's a choice you have to make for your sanity and your financial well-being as well. So it was an easy choice to make is what I'm saying. It was a loss for me, mostly, not for Dad, because I think men are, I shouldn't maybe rationalize that by saying that men are different, but men are different with that connectivity with friends and stuff. So I think it was much easier for him because you form different relationships with people through different sides of your work. But it was harder for me because in the middle of child rearing and all of that, when we're all going through the same thing, it's nice to have that community around you that's going through the same stuff. You lose some things, but you gain on another end. But after all of that was, once we worked through that period, and it was a period of probably a decade, and then you slowly get back into, okay, this really matters and it's important to have this. So that's how it worked its way around type thing,
Ah,
right?
so you lost touch. I guess you did lose touch with them for almost a decade.
Yeah, and not a complete shut off. Sorry, sweetheart, not a complete shut off, but certainly a peripheral thing. Very peripheral. You know what's going on to a certain point in people's lives, but you're just not involved. You just don't have that day to day or week to week connection, right?
And I get that happened for you for very specific reasons, but I do feel like that happens. Danielle, do you? I feel like you've been so quiet. It's 19 minutes in.
I know I'm trying not to like interrupt mom. She sounds like a spiel mom.
No, you could ask her questions too. You can cut me off and then I can edit it. But I do think there is, and I want to hear your opinion on that, but I do think you do ebb and flow from people that you love dearly. And
100%.
yeah,
I think that just happens organically through life. Like, I mean, mom and that crew, I mean, thank God for that crew. Because I think when I think of my friendships now and I look at your friendships, like, mom really modeled what friendships look like. Because you can take a step back and come back in and be as strong or stronger than you were like in the past. Because life takes us in different avenues. And I think a lot of people come and go with work too. Like, if I think of my friendships, the people who are around me are actually people that were there like 25 years ago. And in the middle, there was definitely also a separation. And I had a different group that I partied with or went out every weekend. I mean, it was kind of a party mode that some people weren't in. And I just gravitated to other people that were in that mood or mode. And now in like our 50s, well, probably like I want to say the last 10 years, maybe we've like together and we're stronger than we ever have been. I think because everybody's in different places in their life. Like I think people are more grounded in their careers. People are more grounded in their families and with their partners, with life. Like I think we finally got a handle on our finances because we're not like frivolously, I can't say that word.
Frivolous.
Yeah, flying off to Vegas on a Saturday morning, like when you plan a Friday night, or we're not like going downtown every Friday, Saturday night, or you're not, out partying all the time. It's more, I feel now like our friendships are more sitting down and really getting to the core of what's going on with each other and just actively listening to each other. Like not only listening, but hearing and being kind of sober in your thoughts. And I don't mean sober from like substance use or what. I think I just mean sober in terms of just like you're grounded, like you're present with friends. Like, because I feel in the past, like when you're younger, you're kind of just, what's next? What's next? What's next? Like, we're going to go out. Like, we're going, what party are you going to go to? What restaurant? What trip are we going to go on? And now it's more because life is so busy. It's like when you actually get a night or a weekend to get together, you are just like so thankful and appreciative and just so like happy to be in each other's company. And like when mom said she didn't feel like she had to impress anybody, my mind went to you don't feel guarded when you're in a group of your friends, like those real core solid peeps. Like when you're with them, there's no second guessing, there's no questioning what they meant by that statement or by a look or by a laugh. Or when you find those people that you can make fun of each other constantly and still belly laugh, like it's just like I don't know, it's so heartwarming, if that makes sense.
And a gift.
Definitely a gift, but friendships take work. Like I don't think it's like something that comes easy, because I think you have to work at friendships. And I think it's, like I said, being present for each other, feeling grounded, really listening, but hearing and responding. And just being in their orbit.
How do you find it takes work?
Well, because it's so busy, you kind of put your trips on the back burner sometimes. If you're busy at work, you come home and you're tired. You don't leave my house after I come home. I don't want to do like, weekends are busy because you're doing like those household responsibilities like laundry, groceries, running your errands because you're working 5 days a week, like you're 8 to 4, 9 to 5. So you don't see your friends as much as you did before because we're getting older, we're slowing down. Like I love alone time. I love downtime. I need a downtime, but I also need my girls. Like I need my friends. And I say girls, but I do have a couple of really close guy friends as well. That like again, I love the different perspectives of my friends and just like making time to go for a coffee, making time to go out to supper or planning a weekend away. Like that's just invaluable to me because it kind of rejuvenates me. Like when you find your tank is empty, how do you fill it up? Well, before it might have been partying and drinking and going out and gallivanting around, but now like filling my tank is a good, wholesome conversation and just really asking someone how they're doing. And then they reciprocate and ask me how I'm doing.
Yeah, I remember saying to Henny and Carla, who, as you both know, I've been friends with for 27 years. This was a few years ago. Now that we're all in our 40s and other things in life we've obviously gone through a lot of different life experiences that you haven't when you're 20, hopefully anyway. And I said, I feel like I didn't talk to you about deep things back then, but I didn't hold back. I didn't feel like I was curating a certain life or a certain personality or a certain family life. I just didn't think to share anything else because everything was about going out that weekend. Like we all grew up in St. John's in Newfoundland, and so let's get to George Street, like post or in the middle of university and exams or part-time jobs. It was just about having fun. And they knew me better than I knew myself, and they probably still do. Well, now I go to therapy, so I do know myself well. But I was like, I did say to them, like, what did we even talk about? Because the depth and breadth of our conversations now, like Danielle just said it, and it's so meaningful and it's so grounding. And I feel so seen and so safe. And it's not just with the two of them, there's a handful of friends like that. But I think of the two of them because they knew me when I was so young. And anyway, it's just, I guess, when you're in your late teens, early 20s, you're so caught up in living life. You're so selfish, but I hope everyone gets to be selfish at that time because I think that's what it's for. Unless like mom, you had kids pretty young, but for Danielle and I think, or well, I shouldn't speak for Danielle, but for me, it was like this time to be selfish and just have fun. And you didn't really think much beyond your immediate needs and wants. Whereas now we're adults and you have to pay your bills and you have to go to work and you have to make relationships work and other people have to raise children. And there's a lot of responsibility, which brings in a depth to yourself as a human that you then have these people that have known you for 27 years that you get to share that with. It's so deeply meaningful. Like you just said, these conversations, yeah.
I think too, like mom can talk about this too, but like I think it's all relative how we were friends with folks in teens and 20s, 30s, 40s, and now 50s, and mom in her 70s. God, just took 10 years off.
Yeah.
But like it's yeah, like I don't think we can take away from those conversations because at the time they were meaningful, they were deep, they were the most important things of our entire lives. And maybe it was more around different things at the time, like where we want to work, do we want to have kids, who are dating, married, that kind of stuff. And then, as life goes on and we do experience life and we have life experiences, whether it's trips or whether it's new people coming in and out of our lives, like I think that's I guess the evolution of us as humans.
Yeah,
And
true.
like I don't think our conversations with our core peeps were less meaningful years ago. I think it's just meaningful. And the ones that are continue to be in our world when they've seen us in our 20s, 30s, and 40s, like that's some good freaking friends. Like, what's the rule if you're still in someone's life after 7 years, you got them for a lifetime?
Oh,
Like,
is that a thing?
that's the thing. Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but they say if you have a friend in your life for over 7 years, it's that 7 year rule that like they'll be in your world forever. And if you
I don't
think
believe it.
Well, if you think of three of our worlds, like the majority of our core people now have known us from very young, you know? And I don't know, like those people that have known me and see me go through all those dark times and they see me through really great life celebrations and the more dark times, like, and they still love me and they still like me because I think there's differences in like and love. Those are the people I'm going to make time for. Those are the people that like, if I don't see them for months and months, or if our relationship is memes like through Instagram, like that's okay because that's the space we have right now for each other. But I love those friends that you don't see forever. Like when we went to back in April with Jen, like I haven't seen her forever. Like when you get together with someone and you are belly laughing at like things that we did and things that we're still doing, like oh, that's just so awesome.
It's like you could just go to Jen's house, sit in her living room, and feel like you were there yesterday, even though she moved away from Newfoundland
Like
27 years
oh,
ago.
7 years ago. And then
Yeah.
you're just there and it's like nothing happened. It's like you blink your eyes and we're, however old we are. And with like her girlfriends like doing that. And when you asked about, I can't remember what question you asked mom, but about oh my God, tiffs or like conversations or do you still get along, or whatever. Like I listened to mom on the phone with these what they call the Fat Five. And like at one point they were children were arguing one night and like she hung up and I was so agitated. I was like, does this never stop with your friends? 70
Hey, you're still fighting at 76.
years old, you're still like fighting and like more like and assertively being like, well, I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you either. And then like, okay, bye, I love you, click. And I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess fighting's not the best word, but it's that safety. It's like those are your people that you can say exactly how you feel and disagree with them and be curt on the phone and then say, I love you. Good night. Don't call me for a couple of days.
like lose my number. Lose my number.
It's the comfort of, like I said, you're not trying to prove anything. You're just, this is me. We're in this together. We can almost, it's like an old marriage. You can almost finish each other's sentences sometimes. But and through life, there are all kinds of best friends. You can have, I can remember best friends from my neighborhood while I was growing up as a young kid. And I can remember best friends from going to elementary school and then high school. And then I can remember so many best friends from work that you think at the time you didn't even realize that they could have been really good best friends, but you never had the luxury of time because you're busy with your life and your kids and all that, but you never had the luxury of time to develop those relationships, which could have been great. And I still have connections with some of those peeps from my work that I could go and sit in their living room or their kitchen and have a coffee and get right back into. It's almost like we're back in the cafeteria having coffee breaks. And it's like that familiarity and that just wholesome feeling of I'm in the presence of somebody who I've shared all of this with. And then you have friends, like I said, through after work and you get involved with groups or whatever. There's friends that you could, gee, this is a really great person. I do line dancing and there's people that I'm drawn to at line dancing. And I'm thinking, wow, they seem like they could make a really good buddy. They share my sense of humor. They share my sense of values or my interests or whatever. But again, you don't have time to incorporate all of this. They're on the periphery, but they're still friends. They're still part of, like I think about life is that little thing that we all did as kids, connect the dots. You start at one line, you go back and forth and up and down and up. And that's us. We're that little dot at the beginning, and then we're going back and forth, and we're connecting with all of these people throughout life. And then all of a sudden, you come back down to you, and you're the center of all of this. It's not a big universe, but it's your big universe, and it's so important and so rewarding to know that you're special to somebody. You're special to all these people, and they're all special to you because they know your story, they share your story, and they're still sharing in it. And that's what makes that community of friendship. And it changes, it alters, it's in flux sometimes, but always there. Like I said, just recently I made contact with a good friend of mine. And again, we were friends in high school. And we ended up living next door to her and her family for a brief period when we moved in the Goulds. And you guys will remember who this is. Anyway, I learned that she recently lost a grandson through a tragic accident. And I haven't been in her presence and I haven't talked to her, I don't know how many years. But when I heard about it, my first instinct is I have to go see her. I have to go offer my condolences. And it was when I went and I finally was able to go and offer comfort and offer just shoulder. It's like we hadn't been apart. We just, like I said, I must have been there 2.5, 3 hours, and we talked and talked and we cried and we talked and we laughed. And even though the connection had been broken for a while, it was still there, that it doesn't leave you. And it's funny when she opened the door and she cried immediately because of the emotional part of she knew why I was there. And she said, "Oh my God, I only thought of you the other day." And what she made it up to make me feel good. I don't know, but I felt, wow, I thought about you the other day too. So that's the importance of being in people's lives and knowing that you're there. And at the most oddest of times, you can reappear in somebody's life and they're grateful for it. What a wonderful gift you can give to somebody. What a wonderful gift people can give to us.
Yeah, it's true. It's not just about those friends that have known you for you 60 years. It's those other people. You're right. Like I think all of us are naturally drawn to certain people in different networks of our life, whether for you that's line dancing and it was at the lab for work. And anyway, so we all have our own little networks. And there are people in each of those networks that really do stand out. And it's almost like they stand out, I don't know from the beginning, but I feel like they do. My friend here that you both have met, Kat, like I met Kat because she owns Bloom and Studio. I met her when I first moved to Ottawa. I think I found her flower shop and coffee shop on Parkdale just because I'm naturally drawn to little small businesses and I'll search them out. And there was something about her that stood out. And I think, Mom, you and Dad were with me, and Dad and her connected. She fed him cookies, so he was going to love her. And but there was a connection. And every time I saw her, and I didn't see her a ton, but every time I saw her, it was always like a lightness in my body, like it's not the right word, but it's like a safety, a comfort, I suppose. And then the other day we were having a coffee and she said, we found each other and we always connected. It just took us a while to get to the point where we spent more time together. We each had to go do our own little things and to hang out with our own different groups of people. And I'm like, I do think she's someone that I'll have in my life forever, even though it wasn't someone that's known me since I was 18 or like Coralie. Coralie's known me since I was 14 years old. Anyway, so there's something so important about those people and getting yourself out there to meet these people. I don't want to have one of these conversations where we go into the youth of today and I don't know if they're going out or not and social media. And I mean, that we could talk about that for 5 hours and maybe it comes and goes in our conversations over time. But there is something about going out there. Like my nephew, his first year university, he's going to kill me. I always say the wrong university. Doesn't matter. Point is, he went away from home and he spent a year at this university. And it was during COVID or right on the outskirts of the end of COVID, or probably still during COVID. And so not everyone was going to all the classes. And I remember feeling so sad for him. And I'm like, no, you gotta go to the class. And he's like, no one's going to miss me there. It's like an auditorium of, I don't know, 100 people or 200 people, whatever it was. And I'm like, but you're going to sit next to somebody. You're just going to feel pulled to somebody. Or maybe it's coming out of class, or maybe it's walking to the class. You're going to see the same face. And there's something about that other person's energy that's going to stick out. And then who knows from there? And it's not particularly from that class, but I was more meaning like, you got to get out there. You got to sit in that classroom. You got to go out to, I don't know, if it's that bar or that party where sometimes you're like, I don't really want to go. You just don't know who you're waiting to meet or who's waiting to meet you.
It's creating opportunities. Yeah. Cause this is what I do most times in work is like most of my folks. So I work in community mental health addiction. So most of my folks struggle with isolation for a variety of reasons. So it's really hard to get out, but mostly the missing link of connectivity and feeling part that you belong to a community. And I think that's what we all, like three of us have. We feel that we belong to our community of people that, whether they've been in our world for years or whether we've struck a spark with them in the last 6 months, or we're, like I said, we're drawn to people. And I think that's the connectivity piece that we as humans thrive on. Like, we're not meant to be a standalone. And oftentimes, if people don't create the opportunities for themselves, like, they unfortunately, miss a lot of opportunities. So, yeah, youth of today, not only youth, but people of today, they're living in virtual worlds. And that itself creates a community of belonging, but it doesn't, personally, I don't think it's the same as that organic face to face conversation, that like awkward bumping into someone and having to like open your mouth or to like raise your head, or it's the awareness of like who's in your surrounding, and just, yeah, just experiencing the awkwardness of being outside your home, which can be really tough for a lot of folks. So a lot of times it's creating like, how do you make that first step to get out and go to class and sit next to someone, or go to a coffee shop and be on your phone, or have a book, or have your computer, or go for a walk in the park, but lift your head and say hi or good morning, because as humans we need that stimulation, like.
We need
Do
human connection. I remember when I lived here, and when I first moved here, I moved here with a boyfriend who then we got married and then we got divorced. And so I was living here freshly divorced. I didn't have a lot of time in Ottawa to create connections. So I didn't know a lot of people. And I remember going to this yoga studio. It was a tiny little studio, and it was the place where I was seen. And it saved me, but it made me feel connected, even though I didn't actually know anybody. But I went at the same time every single day, 5 days a week, because I liked the practice. But actually, what it was, I don't even think it was the physical movement of my body. It was someone's checking me in and saying, "Nice to see you, Nadine," or and eventually just getting to know me. And, "Oh, you weren't here last week." It's just, "Oh, I'm seen in the world. There is a place for me. I'm not so alone." And I never went to coffee or dinner or anything with any of those people, but that small little moment of someone
yeah.
in the day, of someone knowing my name and realizing I'm somewhere and I'm seen, it made me feel way less alone in a really lonely time.
And if somebody actually, oh, sorry, sweetheart, somebody actually missed you at at a random class, like, gee, they remember me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a place for me in the world in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I love playing on Instagram. I love sticking up a photo of Theo, or visiting you guys at home and putting up photos and seeing a comment from my friends, whatever. And I do love those touch points because I don't live in the same city as a lot of my best friends. Most of them are still home in Newfoundland. So I do feel more connected, and I get to see their kids on their first day of school. And so there is a place for social media in my life. It's just, it does not replace. Like, my two of my best girlfriends are coming up on Tuesday of this week for us to go to Prince Edward County together. And there's no replacing that one-on-one connection and time. And like mom said, like, you escape from your day to day in your own city and you get to go somewhere else where you just get to be a little bit more whatever.
Yeah.
Not that my guard is up here, but your guard's down. You don't care. You just want to have fun with your girlfriends. Yeah, there's no replacing that.
I love that mom just got back from Quebec City. You're going up with your girls like to pack, and then I'm going out. We're planning a weekend in Catalina, like with good old Catalina, in Bonavista Vista Bay. Five of my girlfriends, and it's just, I don't know, it keeps us going. It's something to look forward to. But my heart is so saddened for other people who don't have that, and for a variety of reasons. Like, I definitely, my heart aches for folks who do not have those connections, and it is hard to meet people. So that's why I tell everybody, like, when you're going to the grocery store or going for a coffee or out walking, and someone is whether they're sitting on the ground or whether they're walking towards you or whether they're standing up, it's like eye contact and a good morning, good afternoon, or a hello, or nice weather, whatever you're saying. Like, sometimes that's the only words that anybody has spoken to them in a day or a week. Some people that we work with, like, the only conversations they have are with healthcare professionals. And that hits me so hard sometimes, that like, when I'm out, I have the ability to be able to say, my God, the weather is so warm, or damn the rain, or whatever. But we have to, like, also treat everybody as humans when we are out and about. We have to make time for friendships are take work, but also being a human takes work. So when you do see those people that are out and by themselves, like a simple nod of the head or a good morning, like it just goes such a long way. And that could be the one thing that sparks them to then say to somebody else, and who knows what the opportunities would create for that other person.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just be a
Friends.
human in the world. Mom, when you were separated, or not separated, but when there was that period of time when you didn't see your Fab Five, the five of you call yourselves the Fab Five, and when you get together, you call it Club, which I love. Anyway, when there was that period of time, about a decade, where you didn't see them, do you remember missing them?
I'm sure I did at the time. It doesn't stand out as a something that I was emotionally affected by. I'm sure I missed certain aspects of it. But again, it was a time in my life and your dad's life that you guys were young. So the everyday drudgery of school responsibility, work responsibility, household responsibility, and in the middle of all that, trying to have a little bit of air and air for myself and dad. No, you, like I said, you don't have. I didn't have time to lament it, and I'm sure I wished it was different at times, but no, it didn't. I can't. If I sat down and really was honest with myself and thought back on it, I can't. I can't say no that I was overly affected by it. I think it was an obvious only thing to do decision at the time. So I guess by the time it was made, and it wasn't made consciously, it was like a gravitational thing that kind of like eventually ended up happening type thing. So it was a slow, I guess, degrading of the relationship as we knew it and just a stepping back from it.
I don't know. I guess maybe because sorry, Danielle, maybe because I don't have kids, like there's friends that have ebbed and flowed out of my life, and people that aren't in it right now that I think there's space for them to come back in. And I do have time to miss them. But yeah, maybe that's the gift of, not the gift, not that it's a gift not to have kids, but I didn't want to have kids, so I didn't. But without that, because that's a big demand on your time. And honestly, some of the friends that I've drifted from, it's because they have a young family and they're flipping busy. It's not, we didn't drift from each other because there was any big argument or upheaval. It's literally just life. But I can appreciate that, even though I don't have kids and I don't live that. But I had a small business and that really did swallow me whole for a very long time. And I was happy for it too. I loved it and I dove all in. So I'm sure people felt a real void of me in their life during that time. But I don't know, there is something about those people that can drift in and out. But I remember when I had drifted away, I definitely missed them. But I made space to miss them. And then when they came back in, it was just like nothing happened. And what about you, Danielle? I know you've had some friends ebb and flow. Did you remember
When
me?
you were just saying that, I actually just thought about Tanya, because like we were the best of friends for so many years. And then I was in, if I think back, like I was in my party mode and she was in her child rearing years, and like we completely split, but I was the asshole of the partnership. And like I totally I'm talking about prioritizing my friends now because I can. Back then I didn't, for selfish reasons, but I'm still selfish, and I prescribe selfishness to people, but in a positive, healthy way now. Back then it was like I'd prefer to go downtown and drink my face off Friday and Saturday nights than drive up the shore and spend time for Tanya. And then I remember we did separate for many years, and God love her, she prioritized me and she connected with me and was like, can we go for supper? And I was like, oh, well, here we go. And like when she's listening to this, like, Tanya, I love you. But she was like, okay, like, what the frig are we going to be talking about? Anyway, when we got there, I mean, we both looked at each other. I was like, she's like, you're an asshole. I'm like, I am. I'm an asshole. And she's like, thank you so much for being the bigger person. Because like I don't think our friendship would have ever rekindled if it wasn't for her. I don't know if I would have done that because I was the asshole. So like that's on her. She prioritized me 100%. And like since that night, like it was a hard conversation. We both agreed who was the bigger person. It was her. And I'll make me rekindled. And like her girls are getting older, and they're just a phenomenal family. Like, and we spent so many years with Gerard, and
Ish.
she's just like one of the core people that, again, if I went up this afternoon, it'd be like I saw her yesterday. So, and it's that, I mean, you're Jilly and like Tanya and all that crew, Jenny, there's so many people who like were in our lives back in our, well, you were early 20s and I was late 20s, early 30s, when they were like our people. Like, we worked together, we hung out together. And yeah, so I'm glad that she she pivoted and called me an asshole. So that's the one that stands out in my head. The other ones we have divorced some friends. So, but for a variety of reasons that like it was leading to toxicity in my own world. So I had to do the separation. And I do feel like friends come into our lives for different reasons at different times. And I feel sometimes we outgrow friendships, and I think that's okay. Like, I think they can be the core, the most wonderful connections and wonderful times. And then sometimes you just outgrow people. And some people have outgrown me, and that's okay. But so,
Yeah,
and I
I
think
agree.
I didn't realize that till probably the last maybe 10 years, that it's okay to outgrow each other.
Yeah, I had this conversation with a friend of mine who's in her 30s, and we were just chatting about different people I've drifted from. And I just said, I went through this thing and I'm going to lose people, and that's okay. And she looked so sad. And I said, yes, it's sad. And I definitely have mourned them and I've grieved them because they were in my life for a very good reason. And they loved me and I loved them and we had a great time. But the chapter closed and that's okay. And she looked at me and she was sad for me. But I feel like I've got 10 plus years on her, and I'm the one that's looking at her like, you're gonna outgrow some people. And if you're listening, you know exactly who you are. And I love you. And maybe you won't outgrow some people, but you're gonna outgrow some people.
Yeah.
And that's okay because it means you're growing and you're evolving and you're not going to outgrow everybody. And to mom's point, maybe you do separate for some years and you come back together because it's not these big blow ups. It's almost harder because I don't know why, but we're not sharing the same things right now, the same values, the same things that we want to do. And that's okay. And I wish you well. So,
Yeah.
anyway, I think as you get older, you're more willing to let some people go. And it could sound a bit bitter, but it's actually not from a bitter place. It's from a place of deep love. But I also think it's from a place of deep love for yourself. Like when mom said, we just had to make that decision for us and for the family and for your dad's work. And I get it. It's like how Danielle said, prescribed selfishness, because it's true. When you're younger, for me anyway, it was more, what do other people want? And how can I give what other people want? And as I get to my place in the world now, I'm 47. I'm like, wait a minute, Nadine, feed yourself first. Put your own oxygen mask on first. Love yourself more. And that's caused me to step away from some people because they're not my safety anymore. And I have to go create my own safety again or keep prioritizing the people that are prioritizing me. But I think it's a beautiful thing. I think we get a bit more grounded in who we are and we treat ourselves with more love and respect and compassion. And yeah, it's a comforting place to get
I think
to
it's
be.
also confidence in your own self too, and where you are in life. And I think it's realigning with your values and giving you time to realign with your values. And yeah, like think of relationships, and I always joked about divorcing people, divorcing friends, as it does feel like a divorce. It feels like a loss or the relationship, but also a loss of watching them grow and turn into whatever glorious humans they're going to turn into. Because I still want all of the friends that I've divorced, if you're listening, you know who you are, still want you to thrive in life, but I wouldn't have added to your ability to thrive. Like I think, and people who divorced me, like we just needed to separate. Like a marriage, you need to
Yeah.
go your separate ways to thrive in your worlds individually. Do we come back into each other's worlds? Like who freaking knows? But I think the more at ease we are to separate, the more time we have for new opportunities and for them too, right? Like I think it's just kind of just something that happens organically in life. And again, there's 7 years difference between me and you, and like mama there is like 20 years difference in me and her. And we all experience that. Like, and I think we get older. Like when I was in my 30s, if someone said like you'll never be friends with them, I'm like, oh my God, never. And now I'm like, oh bitch, please, like, no, we'll never be friends again because you were there for that period of my life, and that was amazing. But you wouldn't fit where I am right now, and I wouldn't fit where you are right now either. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
it is deeply painful. Like I don't see maybe I'm not looking in the right places, but I don't see a ton on how deeply painful it is to lose some good connections or some people that were in your life for like a heightened period of time, like an intense friendship or a long friendship or just like a soft place to land sometimes or for some years or era of your life. But my gosh, there's been a number of people that I guess, divorced. But it's always painful, even when it's for the right reasons. It's hard because I remember when I divorced my first husband, and I remember I was like, it's not, it was like, that was extremely painful, but it was painful because number one, we didn't work and he was a nice person. But number two, I felt upending my life and his. But actually, I realized what was really painful was grieving this life that I had imagined together. And that didn't exist anymore because it crumbled at my feet. And I think there's a part of that for losing friends too. It's like grieving this person you just assume would be around forever, even when it was the right move to walk away from them. It's a similar feeling to divorcing an intimate partner because it's like you grieve this relationship that you just imagine growing old with. And there's something so sweet about your girlfriends, or that doesn't mean that they have to be women. There's men that I've been friends with that I've grown separated or grown away from, but it's just deeply painful, but also the right move because we're just not in the right place to be in the same part of in the same era.
But I think grieving it, just a validation of the true friendship that it was.
Yeah.
So I think it's still like the grieving and the loss of it is actually, you can, when you get through that initial, like, what happened, I mean, you definitely can celebrate that it was a true friendship,
Yeah.
right? So,
And also realizing that because of those friendships, whether they were fleeting or long term, they made you who you are today and who you are still becoming. And without, your life would never have been the same without those people in it. And they did contribute, and they're probably still contributing because you can go back in time and think on stuff. Oh, someone's, what would she or he think about this? And because that crosses your mind sometimes. That's something that, oh God, she would have liked or she would have agreed with. And so they do influence us, whether we admit it or not. And it's not that it was a bad thing, is that it's over. It's just that sometimes the clock runs out on relationships.
really, it just like every
Oh, that's a nice way to put it.
clock runs out on the relationships.
Yeah, I remember saying to a friend when I got divorced, I was caught up in trying to understand how that happened. And she said, you just worked until you didn't. And I'm like, oh, that's such a nice way to put it because you'll never figure it out. Like you can never fully get into somebody else's mind either, a friend that you've grown apart from. And I will say there's other friends that I've grown apart from because it was very toxic and it wasn't actually a safe space for me. But I remember grieving it and having a therapist say to me, it's okay to grieve a toxic relationship. There's also a loss there, even though it wasn't a safe space for you. There's still a loss because I found that really hard to sit in. Like, how do I miss this person that was so awful to me, actually? But I miss them because there was good parts. There was good parts, and so it's like equally you can miss someone that added a lot to your life, and you can miss someone that was not a great part of your life, but it was something that you had built for better or for worse, and there's a loss when it's no longer there. And a loss of maybe who you once were with that person. Maybe that's the other thing, like who you were with Tanya in your 20s, who I was with people that are still in my life in my 20s. There's something there that even now, and when the three of us get together, myself and Lisa and Jill next week and Peck, I know we'll reminisce. And there's a real like nostalgic loss. Oh, remember when our biggest concern was, I don't know, an exam on a Friday night, not making a marriage work and dropping your kids off to school and taking care of aging parents. Not you, Lorraine. You're still taking care of us.
No, I think you're so true because like I often say I'll often write or do a video for the girls, and I'm like, where is my youth? Because like even prepared for next weekend, it's like, you know, that would have been a weekend of like just pure debauchery back 20 years ago. And now this weekend we're like, okay, we need our own rooms. Okay, with who's sharing the two bathrooms? What are we having for breakfast? Like, okay, I'll cook Saturday, you cook Sunday. Who's got favorite treats? Like back in the day, you just hop in the car with a 60 and share one room. And now we're like,
And who got the liquor?
and who
Yeah.
got the liquor? I mean, we still texted that.
Yeah, so did mom. Did you see the photos of mom on Instagram?
Totally. So like it's like and like for instance Kelly, like I've known Kelly since like 1997, and Sandra, like that's a lifetime. Like our nephews were born after that. Like it's just crazy
Yeah.
how long we've known these people, and like seeing them through relationships and just moves. I mean, Colleen and Michelle moved out to Central years and years ago, and we drifted apart just because of distance. And but once you get back together, like mom's got that Fab Five, like we call ourselves the Sassy Six. I don't even know where that name came from, but that's the name on top of her thread. And then you got my university friends. I mean, Kelly, Melissa, and my core, they hold my heart, and like be able to see them once every 6 weeks. Like we make a time to do that. And when we went to the reunion last year, those were people that I met like in 2001. And we hadn't seen each other since probably 2004. And it was just like we were back at Dow, like just living it up. And then after I left 3 days later, I was like, lose my number for another 10 years. Like I cannot, my body cannot handle this. But I feel very grateful for the relationships that I've had throughout my entire life, because even the real shitty ones created, like mom said, who we are today. And
Absolutely.
now as we get older, I'm selfish. I just surround myself with the people who lift me up, because that's all I have space for right now.
Those people, honey, helped you get through what we call the shit storm of life.
Mom, how did you reconnect with the Fab Five?
Like I said, we were always connected, and it would be through a phone call. I think how we got not so much Anne Marie. Anne Marie was on the outskirts all the time. She wasn't part of our core group until much later because she was widowed at a young age. So a different life path for her because she lost her husband who was connected to the lab. So it was like a parting of the ways there for a while, just by the mere fact that she wasn't connected through the workplace where that was our social place. Everything associated with lab, the dances, the Christmas parties, the barbecues, the get-togethers. But I think after we had that little separation, I think I was having surgery for something, not for something. I know what I was having surgery for. It's irrelevant. But I think Chrissy and Joan were to the house.
It's irrelevant.
Irrelevant. A laboratory. It was irrelevant.
It's totally irrelevant. It doesn't add anything to the facts. Anyway, they came over to the house, and I think they brought over, I don't know, pie or some freaking thing. I called it an olive branch, a peace offering, and they were obviously reaching out to me in friendship, which I accepted and welcomed them into my home and appreciated that they made the effort to come over to wish me well with the surgery. And it was from that we just gradually got back into each other's lives, and then we whooped it up just like we'd never been parted.
When did you start to call it the club and do these, what is it, every month you make sure you get together?
Oh, that's a funny story. That's through Mary. It was Mary's idea from the get-go. And it started because she was having a little argument with her hubby, as she was wont to do at times, disagreeing. Anyway, they were having some kind of a little back and forth thing and insults here and there. And Brian, her hubby, made a little sarcastic remark. She made an allusion to something about friends, going with her friends or doing something. And he said, "You don't have any friends." Just flippant. And she said, "I'll show you who has friends." So she picked up the phone and she called, I don't know who she called first. I think it might have been Ruby at the time, and then Anne-Marie, and then blah, blah, blah. The other 5 of us, 6 of us. And it was through that She said, I do have friends and we're all going to start a club. And we never called it the Fab Five from the get-go. I have no idea where that came from or how long ago we even started calling ourselves that. But it was from that little flippant comment from her hubby that she said, I'll show you that I have friends. I have more friends than you have. So that's how the club started. And it's, oh my gosh, it's got to be 20 plus years, honey, that we've been doing it. It's a long time. And it's great that Mary is in it too, because Mary is what we call our alcohol mule. So she always says those little tiny Mickeys. She can be always dependent on, would you like a drink? Want a drink? Mary always got the little backpack or the over-the-shoulder purse, very discreet.
Did anybody get hung over in Quebec City?
Oh, no. Chrissy doesn't get hung over.
No, why?
I knew you'd throw Chrissy under the bus.
Right?
She's really-
Metrobus.
She's a very seasoned drinker.
Oh, gosh.
Mary and Chrissy would drink any man under the table.
I love them.
Still, They still can.
Oh, they're pretty good.
Love them.
Gosh.
I couldn't hold a candle to them. God, I love them with all my heart.
He needs to get Mary and Chrissy on this now so they can throw Mom under the bus.
Oh, they would.
All right. Thanks for talking to me about your friends.
You're very welcome, sweetheart. It was enjoyable.
I'm glad you still have a really good network, though. Especially you lost Dad, and to be able to fall into this group that have known you since you were 16 for the most part. And the lesson that you can drift and come back together. And now at 76, your safety net is always there, you know?
And yeah, it's funny you mentioned about losing Dad, and that's the biggest part of my story lately. Anyway, I remember it was only a couple of weeks after, and it was in May month. So Daddy passed away 28th of April. So it was probably third week in May. I remember Joan called and she said, okay, enough of this now. We're getting together. I thought, okay. But oh, we're getting together, she said. And it was funny because it was during COVID.
Right.
And obviously we weren't in each other's bubbles because bubbles were very small and limited back then. So she said, we're going down on the parking lot down by the Little Dale, the church, and we're just going to sit down. So we each had our own cars, and I still have pictures of us, and we're all set on a little, I don't know, there was a milk crate and probably a salt beef bucket. And we're just all sat around by our cars, and we just chatted, and I had Daddy's coat on, and I can still see the picture in my mind, right? But that was Joan and the girls got me out. It's enough, she said, we're going out. I said, okay. But that's what people do. They lift you up, they push you, and they'll let you be when you need to be let alone type thing. So that's the gift that friends give you.
That's the gift that you give us. Like, I love watching your friendship, and I love watching it grow. And guess since Dad died as well, because before that, we were up in you and Dad, but getting to know you without Dad and seeing how your friends interact with you and they've lost their husbands as well. Some of them have, just watching you flourish with them. It's just so heartwarming. And it just goes to show how much we need other people in our lives. And those women, they're just, and they love us too. There's one night that I'm there at your house, because I go every night. It's not one night that Joan doesn't call, or Chrissy calls, or Mary, and they ask about, me, because I know I'm there. They ask about Steve, or they ask about Steven, or they ask about the boys. They're just always inquisitive and curious about how your family's doing. And you do the same to them. But I just love hearing that and being witness to it.
Thank you, sweetheart. And it's making yourself be involved. And that's what's important. It's investing in their lives like they're investing in mine. And that makes you feel that you mean something to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you send me the photo of you guys in the parking lot? Maybe I'll use it for this podcast. It's so sweet.
I definitely have it somewhere, sweetheart. Anyway, I can see us now. It was a bright, sunny day. Anyway, I'll look for it, sweetheart, I promise.
Okay. All right. Have a good day, you two.
And have a good day, you two, my girlies.
Love you.
Bye.
That was one of the first episodes that I recorded with Mom and Sis. If you thought of someone while you listened to it, it's not an accident. Go call them. Don't make them wait 10 years for a pie. And also, if you could share it, that would be much appreciated. I mean, sure, the pie, but this episode, this podcast. Next week, starting with all new content. Thanks again for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure doing this. Bye.